most of your Walt Disney World vacation.
The top 6 germ breeding grounds at Walt Disney World. Hi, I'm Herb Leibacher, and welcome to episode number 119 of the World of Walt podcast. Make the most of your Walt Disney World vacation for the week of June 18th, 2017. This is the podcast for Walt Disney World fans, whether you're planning your next trip or just enjoy reliving a little bit of Disney magic. Disney welcomes guests from all around the world, and as a result, they welcome germs from all around the world. Nobody wants to get sick on their vacation, so let's look at some places you might want to avoid if you can. Today, we're going to look at the top 6 germ breeding grounds at Disney World. To help me explore this topic, I'd like to welcome a guy who is personally clean as a whistle, but is aware of all the germiest places, Johnny Shortsleeve. Johnny, welcome back.
Oh, man, Herb, it's good to be back. I'm glad you invited me to talk about this topic because we really need to we need to clear the air about some of these things that are going on here at the parks, and hopefully we can treat this as a public service announcement of sorts, right? To help people, point some things out. Like I think judging and shaming might need to be brought to the parks to help people realize, hey, you're not keeping this place too clean here, doing what you're doing here. Knowledge
is power, and you can use it to your advantage. So these might be some spots you want to not touch if you can avoid it. And I think there are some you can't avoid, but we'll see as we get into the conversation. So for the warm-up question, I didn't want to ask anything about food because that would be gross. So I'm going to ask about something different. So today's warm-up question, what's your favorite quiet spot inside the parks?
Ooh. Yeah, food would have been a funny intro. So quiet spot. Well, my first there's a handful that I have little secret spots I don't like to tell other people because I want it to stay quiet. The first one I think that comes to mind, I don't know that this is like a huge secret. I think a lot of people know about this, but in Future World in Epcot, as you're kind of exiting out of Future World and you have the fountain. You just passed the fountain. You've gotten sprayed by that water. Who knows what kind of bacteria is living in that water on a nice windy day. As you're looking toward World Showcase Promenade, right to the right on the back side of the Coca-Cola store is a little hallway that is enclosed and air conditioned. There's some tables that are in there, and it's a nice open area. And it kind of is also adjacent to the character spot where you can meet Mickey Mouse, and I think Minnie and Goofy are in there too. But it's a cool spot to hit, no pun intended, especially on a warm day. If you just need a little bit of air conditioning, a quiet place to sit down, if you have kids and you brought some snacks, there's some tables in there so you can sit and relax and have a quick snack and kind of rejuvenate and get a relief break from the sun. I've stepped in there with my kids and just done like a sunscreen application just to kind of get them back in good working order. The only caveat about this spot, and I'm curious if you know about this, Herb, or if you've encountered it, it has the most unique smell in that little corridor right there. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. Like I don't think they're going to make its own version, like the air freshener they made like for the turkey leg and the popcorn and all that. Yeah. I don't think they're going to find an air freshener for this hallway, but I don't know what chemicals or agents they're using to clean it, but I have not found another spot on Walt Disney World property that has the exact same smell as this hallway. So that I don't know if it deterred people. Maybe I should say it smells foul so no one goes in there and I can keep it quiet to myself. But that's my spot that I think is probably my favorite quiet spot in the park. What about you?
That is a really good spot. Actually, I've been through there, and it's always deserted, and it's kind of a big open area. It's very tall, so
it's the odor.
Yeah, well, that could be. Maybe people that sort of walk in the door and turn around and walk right back out. But it is a quiet and a cool spot too because it's indoors, so that's a good one. So for me, I think one of the quietest spots. It depends on when you hit it. Would be the gardens in the back of the United Kingdom Pavilion. So if you go earlier in the day, there's a gazebo back there and a few little tiny paths, maybe a square. And so if there's entertainment going on, it's not quiet anymore. But many times it's deserted back there because there's not much going on, and it's a nice quiet spot to just kind of recharge for a few minutes.
It's funny because I'll go back there. My kids like to run through that little maze with the hedges that are through there around the gazebo.
Yeah.
And on that gazebo is the bandstand set up for British Revolution. And so we'll go back there in the afternoon and they'll run around, and I'll look around. I'll see a few people who are trying to cool their heels in the shade back there, and they're relaxing, and you can tell they just need some quiet time. And literally in about a minute's time, it converts from quiet and serene and relaxing to just all out mayhem with British Revolution. Because I don't know what they're doing lately, but their audio guys and gals are really cranking it hard back there. So it's loud.
Yeah.
And but I'll say that, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, is a Kidcot fun stop that is right off of that little garden area. So if you're back to the building right there and you're looking at the bandstand for British Revolution, if you just turn around and go in the little building, there's like a little doorway. There's this really cool, quiet area in there with 2 chairs, like high back chairs. No one knows about it, and the Kidcot Fun Stop thing isn't as popular, I think, as it used to be. So it's not crowded in there. So that's if you're hanging out in the gardens and you're relaxing, and all of a sudden 3:30 rolls around and British Revolution starts blasting your eardrums, you just dip right into that little spot over there and grab a cool shady spot in the air conditioning, and that'll help you out with a little extra time to relax.
Good tip. I didn't really know about that Kidcot spot. And there used to be a meet and greet way in the back. I don't know if it's still even there or not. That may be old news, but anyway, tucked back in the UK, another place to check out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the warm-up question. Back to the main topic of today: top 6 germ breeding grounds for Walt Disney World. And number 1, Johnny, is yours.
Whew. All right, where to start? There's a lot to talk about here.
Begin in the beginning.
This could be like a mini series. Yeah. Like this would be volume 1. And I hope that before I say any of my things on my list, I hope that anybody who's listening to this and who isn't super familiar with Walt Disney World and they're kind of encountering this podcast as a means to understand it better and learn more, and hears this and thinks, there's no chance I'm not gonna go hang out at this place after hearing about all the germ spots. I hope you don't feel that way, because this is amazingly the cleanest place you could imagine, considering the number of people that are visiting every single day. Yeah. So, but these are just some spots that I just kind of look at with a careful eye. So the first one on my list was the handlebars inside the monorail. And here's why. So if you think about that moment when, there's obviously going to be guests who are sitting in the benches in the monorail, but there's going to be a number of guests who are going to be standing as well. And when they're standing, the monorail moves quite a bit. It shifts around, especially if they're really cranking. They're holding on with a death grip to that monorail handlebar. And the other move that I see is people who do the armpit hold, where if they're holding on to a stroller or some bags, they'll like cradle the handlebar with their armpit or their elbow pit. And I just think that's just like hardcore nasty sweat that's going all over that bar. And I love Disney. Disney, if you're listening, I love you. But I don't see people or cast members like rolling up, because it should be impossible just to roll up and do like a quick wipe down of the handlebars. So here's the thing, you're gonna have to do it, because if you try to be, Mr. Super Dave Osborne stuntman and try to go hands free, you're gonna fall. You're gonna crack your skull open on the monorail. You got to hold on. Just maybe hit a little quick restroom break and wash your hands afterwards, or hit some Purell on there. Maybe we should have this episode sponsored by Purell.
Oh yes, if you're listening, Purell people. Yep.
Yeah, use the offer code World of Walt and you'll get a special deal on the travel size. So that's my number 1, the handlebars in the monorail.
Yeah, I think this is good. One of the first things you encounter, many people are putting their grubby little hands all over those handlebars. I've never seen them get cleaned before, and probably for the reason you're saying. I don't think there's a way to kind of sneak in and out for a cast member, because those monorails are coming and going, as fast as they possibly can. I'm always hopeful that at the end of the day, someone is in there kind of doing that job, but...
Well, you know me, Herb. I like cross-promotional ideas here for Disney. Again, Disney, these are free for you. Please go ahead and use them. You know how, like at the grocery store or Target, you go in, or even Walmart does it too. As soon as you enter, they have the little stand that's got like the Purell wipes or whatever brand wipes.
Yep.
They need to cross promote with Purell and have like some just wipe boxes that are hanging from the roof of the monorail. And so you could just pull one down, give a little wipe, and be done with it.
Now you're talking. So why, instead of paying custodial employees to do this, just get the guests to do it? So,
I know.
So
I mean, they're there.
Yeah, they're not doing
Might as
anything.
well.
Right.
Yeah, you're standing there just waiting.
I think it's a great idea. So my trick on the monorails is to try to lean with my back against one of the poles. And so as an annual pass holder, I go out and you kind of get used to the monorails. So I try to lean myself against it and brace myself that way. So my back is picking up all the germs. My arm isn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if that works so well or not. I haven't tumbled yet.
Well, and can I just rant for 20 seconds? I'll keep it quick. Speaking of leaning and bracing, and the monorail does move, and it's a smooth ride, but you can get jostled around if you're not holding on tight. I want to rant for a quick second about the number of times I ride the monorail and I see able-bodied dudes sitting down while there are women and children standing.
Yeah,
that burns my biscuits, some kind of fierce. And I literally I don't want to get into a fist fight because I know that some people are hot and tired and they would probably want to rearrange my teeth if I said something to them. But come on, if you see a woman or a child standing and you're an able-bodied guy, a 14-year-old boy, you can stand.
Yeah.
Go ahead, get up, offer that nice lady or that younger child a chance to sit down. I think we should see if we can, Dapper Day spread by word of mouth. Let's spread this by word of mouth.
This is dude standing in the monorail day or something like that. I need a better name for it, but
like Chivalry Day.
There you go. That's what we need.
Yeah.
That's what this country needs, is a chivalry day.
Let's let it. Let's make that. It started here, folks. It started right here.
Yep, recorded
Never
for
forget.
Posterity. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, and I think that's even more so at the end of the day when everybody is dead tired. Everybody wants to sit down, but that's the time when it makes the biggest difference. Giving your seat to someone who probably needs it a little more than you do. So,
Right.
I agree. Okay,
Yeah.
Number one, handlebars inside the monorail. So we've now arrived at our park, and my item, which is number two, is going to be one that every single person going into that park touches. It's the fingerprint readers in the turnstiles or the turnstile-less entry points. So for those of you who haven't been to a Disney park in a while, you hold up your magic band or your pass or your ticket to the reader, the Mickey reader, and then you need to put your index finger, or at least the same finger as last time, on a little slide of glass, which will then read your fingerprint or something akin to reading your fingerprint. And that lets you in. So that's how they know that only you are using your tickets, and that's how they enforce them being non-transferable. But every person who's going into that park is doing the same thing. This is another thing where I have never, ever, ever seen anyone clean those little fingerprint readers. And I hope it happens at the end of the day or the beginning of the day. But I've never seen it happen. And I know that there is always a line of people ahead of me putting their grubby little fingers on that little slide of glass. And so I think everybody's just passing on whatever's on their finger to the next guy behind him, to the next guy behind him.
Let me put this into perspective of why I love this idea of what you just picked. You'll see why that's a good pun in a second. Of the people who in this world who don't mind digging for gold, what's the finger you think they're using?
Yeah.
I would imagine, I don't know if there's statistics yet, 99% of them probably using the index finger, which happens to be 90% of the people who use the index finger on the touch point.
Yeah.
There's got to be residue. And that's why my finger doesn't work every time. It's because of that residue. And they always blame me. Did you put sunscreen on? Have you been using lotion? Like, look at me. I'm not a kind of dude who's walking around with constantly moisturizing. But I don't want to upset the cast member and say, hey, how about you wipe down the fingerprint wiper and maybe that'll be able to read my biometrics a little better.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it would read a toe.
This is a good question. I don't know. Maybe there are people who, there are a few people in the world who actually don't have fingerprints. I wonder if they have toe prints. I don't know.
Yeah, because it'd be funny to watch me do it because I'm not flexible. See someone kick their flip flop off and put their big toe up there.
Yeah, that's something
an Instagram post right there.
Yeah, that's something I have not seen, but that would go viral in a heartbeat.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. So we haven't even made it into the park yet, and we've got two of the germiest spots in the monorail and on the fingerprint readers.
Yeah. You're in for a wild ride, folks.
And we're only getting started. So.
Yeah.
All right, that was number 2. Number 3 is over to you, Johnny.
All right. I am somebody who, with youngins, who I bring them to the park. I think the youngest, my youngest one, he came in at a month old is when he first came into a park. I've changed, I don't know how many dozens of diapers in hundreds of diapers in the parks. And the baby care stations are amazing. They're nice, they're quiet, they're air conditioned, they have nice tables. It's very easy to set up shop there and do what you got to do. But if you're, for whatever reason, you need to change a diaper and you're not near a baby care station, like Epcot's baby care station is in the Odyssey building. If you're over in France, in the UK, or in France, or in Morocco, or the other end of World Showcase, you might not be able to get over there easily. So a lot of all the restrooms, regular restrooms, have diaper changing stations. But what I want to talk about is the men's restroom. I obviously don't know what the ladies' situation is in there. I gotta imagine they're pretty decent. But what I'm talking about with the men's restroom changing stations, when I go into a men's restroom in the parks and I see a dad changing a diaper, I'm not judging. I mean, I'm a dad. I feel like I'm a world-class diaper changer. I'm not ashamed to say it. I will toot my own horn. But I see some dads who look like they're probably not very well versed in it, and maybe because they don't do a lot of it at home or not regularly doing it all day long. And they got quite a haphazard setup going, and you just look at it and say they didn't lay anything under the child. The child's just on the koala care table.
Yep.
And wipes are everywhere, and it looks like the diaper bag had an M80 in it that got set off and just blew up. I look at that and realize, I know that the cast members are great in cleaning the bathrooms, and they're in there all the time keeping it clean. But I just got to imagine that if you are somebody who is going to travel to the parks with a young child, and you got to prepare yourself for the fact that you might need to change a diaper, especially the dudes, in a spot that's not a baby care spot, to make sure you bring some of those little disposable placemats, like the big changing mat, table mats, that you can lay your child down on and do the changing. Because I think that's going to gotta be a huge petri dish of germs all over the table there. So be careful with that one.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't actually see that many gentlemen in the men's restrooms doing that job, but whenever I do, there's normally stuff everywhere. There's wipes here and wipes there, and it does look like an explosion. It looks like an explosion.
I have a friend who, when his daughter was born, he, I guess at one point, was just not feeling it and was changing a diaper and got really nauseous, and his breakfast burrito said adios. And his wife just said, I'm not into this. I'm going to do all the diaper changing, and that's it. I can't clean up 2 messes every time. And he told me the story like it was a victorious story, got myself out of diaper changing. And I just wonder if, the crazy ones that I've seen, I wonder if for people like that who just say, yeah, let me just totally botch it and put the diaper on backwards and put one on the head of the baby, just to let my wife or my significant other realize I'm just not cut out for this job. Because when I see it and I pay attention to it, and not some kind of perv, but I'm looking at it and going, gosh, this is a disaster you've got going on here.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I normally observe, and I agree. Okay, that's number 3, diaper changing tables inside the gentlemen's restrooms. Ladies, we can't judge. We don't know. All right, number 4. So I love children. Children are good. I've got one. Rumor is that I used to be one, although there's no photographic evidence. But kids have beautiful skin and no wrinkles yet, and it's because they generate all kinds of oils. And if you've got an iPad at home and you've got anyone under the age of 18 using that iPad and you look at it at a slight angle, you can see that iPad is caked with some sort of skin oil stuff. And so let's take that concept and let's blow it up about 100 times. And that is the cue of the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. So when this interactive queue first opened, I thought, this is really cool. They've got these huge screens. It looks like honey is oozing down the screen. And if you wipe the screen and wipe the honey away, you can see some sort of image behind it. And I thought, wow, this is fun. Look at this. This is a neat interactive element. It matches the story of Winnie the Pooh, gives you something to do. And the second time I went and saw this screen, I sort of looked at it at an angle, and I could see that screen looks like the iPad at home, only multiplied by 10,000 kids that you don't know. And so I believe that those huge interactive honey screens in the queue of the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh at the Magic Kingdom has to be one of the biggest germ breeding grounds in the whole park.
All right, brace yourself for another cross-promotional idea, Disney. Go ahead and rig up a meeting with Playtex or Soft Scrub or one of those companies that sells latex gloves and sell them at the entrance to the queue to parents and say, in child size, say, hey, kids, if you want to do the honey wall, you have to buy these special gloves. The honey wall only works if you have the special gloves on. Yeah, and then you just have a little like recycle bin at the end where they go and they get recycled or whatever they do with those things when they're done. But yeah, that in the masks, you see like a lot of the surgical masks rolling around. Yeah, they should sell those with like the Disney characters on them.
There you go. Yeah. And they could probably embed some sort of technology in it so that the glove gives you a special little bonus when you work on the screen. Ooh. Or the mask sets off the reader when you go by.
Like the sorcerers of the magic, the game.
Exactly like that, yes.
We need to change the format of this podcast. Just say, how can we make Disney more money?
They don't even have to send royalties, or at least not all of them. It's just some of them would be fine. So yeah, the honey screen, that's one that I tried once, but I have not partaken of the honey screen since.
Yeah. Look at that. I know exactly what you mean. My kids love the honey screen, and I'm sure that I've probably unknowingly been the subject of an Instagram or a tweet or a Facebook post. Somebody sees my backpack that I roll around with because it has a little side holster on there that I keep like a little pump bottle of hand sanitizer, and I have it turned outward, so I just got to reach my hand back and grab a couple pumps and just transfer it over to the kids when they're done with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hashtag germaphobe is probably what, if you want to look and see if you can find it. But I look at that and I know exactly what you mean, that little like haze on it. But somehow they engineered it to where it doesn't impact the experience. But yeah, it's there.
Yeah, well, you think the honey is really just sticky. That's not the case. That's the grease on the screen that's making the system not work as well as it should. So, that's part of the algorithm. It's all part of the algorithm. All right, that was number 4, the honey screen. Number 5, Johnny, back to you.
Oh boy, last one. This is one that I cringe at when I think about is. When I roll through the parks, I'm usually a credit card user. I'm not a cash user. Although I think there's a certain kind of like mojo when you roll around with a big wad of bills. But my thing is when I look at the cash drawers, with the coins and the bills, when I'm getting change, if I am paying with cash in the parks, I gotta imagine that if you took some of that stuff under a black light and really looked at it, you'd see some crazy stuff because it's international. You're getting international germs on that money, and you're going to put that right in your pocket, and then you're going to hand it over, and then you're getting the change, and it's this one never-ending circle of life of bacteria that's coming and going in and out of your wallet, and you're going to take that home with you. So,
well, you won't have any cash when you go home, so probably not. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a cheapskate. I try not to go too crazy, but I know what you mean. Though it is easy. Things get out of hand fast.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one for me. Is going with cash. And looking around and seeing where's this been and whose hands have been on this money, and everyone's sweaty and it's hot. It's hot down there, evidently, in the parks, and so that's a tough one for me. The cash.
Yeah, I agree. There used to be a website, it's probably still around, called Where's George, where you could type in the serial number of your bill and it would sort of measure how quickly it moved around. There should be a Where's George for germs on bills. I don't know how that would work. It's a little more complicated than typing in a number, but it seems to me that there's some sort of social game with checking out what's on your cash or coins. And I've heard some statistics about some of the things, like certain drug residue that you can find on almost every bill. It's amazing and disturbing. Yeah.
This sounds like a new like Michael Crichton thriller, or sort of Stephen King or one of those heavy hitting writers. Yeah. Write a new book or a novel that turns into a film. Chris Pratt will star in it. Because he's in everything now.
Yeah, that's true.
So him and Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah. We'll call it the Mickey Germ or something like that. Yeah.
That's disturbing. The thing about the drug residue on there. Yep. That's, oh gosh.
Yep.
All right. Use credit cards, everybody.
There you go. The cashless society is good in
Apple
many ways. Yeah. Yep. All right, that was number 5. Number 6, back to me. So we arrived on the monorail. We used the fingerprint reader. We made a few stops. And now it's the end of our day, and you're tired and your feet hurt, and you just want to get back to your car, assuming you're not staying on Disney property. And what do? You wait at the Ticket and Transportation Center or some other place for a tram. And the tram comes up and you need to open the door. So not too many years ago, there were no doors on the tram, which I always thought was a lawsuit waiting to happen. Maybe it was. But now there are doors, and there's a metal handle that you have to pull down and then pull out on the door. And that's how you get into the tram. But that's how everybody gets into the tram. So just like the hordes of people have touched the handlebars and the fingerprint readers and the honey screen, everybody is touching those parking lot door handles to the trams, and they're doing it at the end of the day when they've touched everything else throughout the day. So I think that the parking lot tram door handles deserve a list on our spot of one of the best germ breeding grounds at Walt Disney World.
So I'm no chemist or scientist, obviously, when you can hear my level of education isn't that high. But I got to imagine that we talk about germ transfer. So if I like lightly, brush something, like I just brush my microphone, you might have some germ transfer. Might not be that significant, or not nearly as significant as if I grabbed the microphone and held onto it with a death grip, because I'm giving like every surface of my hand now on that microphone, where germs could be residing, as opposed to just my fingertip. The handle on the parking tram is not, just your fingertip kind of brushing it. People are like putting a death grip on that thing because they're yanking it. They're not sure, is it up? Is it down? Do I push? Do I pull? It's always a process, or for many people, it's a process. Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is when you see it every now and then, somebody has that panic because I'm trapped. I can't get out of here. And they're yanking on that handle. So I got to imagine that with that intense pressure that you put with your hand, you're getting all those goodies that reside on your palm and your fingers under that handlebar, and you're catching whatever is coming back from all those guests that have gone before you who've struggled with that door handle.
Yeah, exactly right, and everything else all day long. So, and those doors, you can't really move them with just a pinky. I mean, you got to give them a little bit of a heft to make that door open up. So you're right, you need to put a death grip on that handle, and a lot of people who don't operate those things all the time, I mean, they're not really sure. And so, yeah, those parking lot tram door handles, they see it all.
Yeah. So this is And this is the reason why I walk most of the time. I just don't like navigating that situation there. It's too stressful for me. So if you're seeing me in a parking lot, I'm usually walking.
Which is not a bad idea. I always play this little game where I think, okay, should I make the decision to walk or should I take the tram? And sometimes I say, okay, I'll take the tram. But then I try to pick somebody out that I can follow. It's like, hey, there's a lady in an orange shirt. I wonder if she'll get there before I do or if I'll get there before she does. And I try to track somebody to see if I win or if I lose. And I think many times, unless you're going at a really busy time in the morning where the trams are just one right after the other, you can get there faster walking much of the time. Not always, but much of the time.
That's like the human game of Where's George?
Yes, that's right.
But let me tell you a quick, just story that kind of illustrates why I'm cool with walking. So a couple weeks ago, I was there with my boys, and we're at the Transportation Ticket Center. We were walking. We were on the Heroes side, and if you know, like when you're deep in the Heroes side, behind the cast member parking, the tram alleyway has this huge median in the middle and like palm trees and all that kind of stuff. And we're walking, and all of a sudden, I just look up, and the Blue Angels fly right over those palm trees. Like they were doing their loop, the first pass they just done over the Magic Kingdom, and they were looping around, and they were so low. And I was thinking, wow, it's so cool that we walked, because if we were on the tram, we wouldn't have seen this, or standing with that awning over there, we wouldn't have seen the planes. And we watched them kind of loop around the backs of the Transportation Ticket Center. Then they came back into their second pass and they flew over again. But we got to see that because we walked. And if we've been in the tram, no dice.
Well, there you go. And that happens once every 45 years, I think. So,
it's like Halley's Comet.
But you never know what else might be flying overhead. So that's very cool. That's very cool. All right, top 6 germ breeding grounds at Disney World. Number 1, the handlebars inside the monorails. Number 2, the fingerprint readers at the park entrance. Number 3, the diaper changing tables inside the gentlemen's restrooms. Number 4, the honey screen in the queue of the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Number 5, any cash or coins anywhere. And number 6, the parking lot tram door handles. Johnny, kind of a disturbing list, but good to know. And you can kind of make some plans now that you think about all of these germy spots.
Yeah, boy, I'm going to go invest in a vat of Purell right now.
I suddenly feel the urge to go wash my hands, but yes. So if people are interested in what you're up to, what's the best way for them to find out?
Oh, man, I hate to try to use this platform to sell my own wares, but I'll tell you what I will do is I heard about this organization the other day, and I thought, a pretty interesting idea. It's something that you don't hear anybody talk about, and I'm surprised you don't hear anybody talk about this, or very rarely if you do. The name of the organization is Foundation for Foster Children. If you want to find out more information, it's foundationforfosterchildren.org. Check this out. In Central Florida, 1,500 children are in the foster care system right now. I mean, that number blew me away when I heard that. It's an amazing thing. The people who do that are amazing people. They're gifted to be able to welcome children into their homes and to help them through some very difficult times in their lives. So this is something that I think, not just Central Florida. I mean, anywhere where you're listening from, there is a network of families who are trying to help children who are in this unfortunate situation. So if you have a chance and you're looking to see what you might be able to do to help out, and there's obviously monetary donations are a huge help for giving these organizations a chance to thrive and for their mission to be carried out. But there's also other ways to volunteer and donate items as well. So see what your local foster care network has to offer in terms of what kind of charitable contributions they can accept or time that they could use, and to take advantage of what you have to offer in terms of what gifts you have. So Foundation for Foster Children, check that out.
Wow, that's great. I have huge respect for people who participate in the foster care system, often coming into a kid's life when there is a crisis, not knowing how long they're going to be in a position to help that child. That's a big job. I think a hugely important job, and I'm glad that you made note of it. So thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah, right on.
Okay, Johnny, as always, it was a ton of fun. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Herb. That was fun. Definitely. Thanks again for having me.
Working in the hot sun, digging up bones, digging up the big bones that never got a tombstone. Oh, my back is sore from lifting up his back is sore, digging Dino Land.
Today we head out to the music loop of Dinoland USA at Disney's Animal Kingdom because, well, why not? And yes, we have made it through the list of the top 6 germ breeding grounds at Walt Disney World, but our conversation isn't over. I'd like to hear what you think about our list. Do you have an idea, something you'd like to add? You can do that by visiting the show notes page at worldofwalt.com/119, a page that works nicely on tablets, desktops, and smartphones. Leave your comments in the comments section and check out what other people think as well. I'd like to thank everyone who's been in touch with me, and I'd like to invite you to follow me on social media, facebook.com/worldofwalt and pinterest.com/worldofwalt. If you like today's podcast, I would appreciate it if you would spread the word. Tell your family and your friends about it. To wrap up for today, as always, I would like to thank you for spending your time with me. I'd also like to thank everyone who visits the worldofwalt.com site, where you can read interesting Disney articles and chat with other folks in the comments sections. By listening here and by visiting the site, you allow me to share the fun of Disney with you, and that is very cool. Thank you for being a part of it. So until next time, my friend, may God bless you.
So there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away.